started with a roll call, please.
Mrs. McGinley?
Here.
Mr. Francisco?
Here.
Mr. De Vera?
Here.
Miss Lee?
Here.
Mrs. Larson?
Here.
Mr. Jewett?
Here.
Mrs. Klingler?
Here.
And with all of us here, I will now open the public hearing up to Dr. Gibbons.
Public hearings this evening. The first public eating, not public eating.
That's what we're doing.
It's probably the best I have. I do. Let's go with public hearing. Public hearing is going to be on inter-fund transfer. Board policy 4:20 fund balances states the superintendent or designee shall maintain fund balances adequate to ensure the district's ability to maintain levels of service and pay its obligations in a prompt manner in spite of unforeseen events or unexpected expenses. Round Lake School District receives about 50% of its tax dollars in April and May. We don't always know when those dollars are coming in. However, we still have obligations to pay our required debt. When we review our debt service fund, which was Fund 30, that account at this point is technically negative because those funds have not come in yet. We do anticipate that they would be arriving shortly. However, in an effort to maintain fiscal prudence, the appropriate thing to do would be schedule a public hearing, which according to Illinois Administrative Code, Board of Education is able to do that. However, we need to post that 30 days in advance. So that document was posted in the Chicago Tribune, Lake County News Sun on Monday, June 6th. So we met that requirement, and we are here this evening holding that public hearing to see if there's any public comment or concern about that transfer. At this time, I'm recommending that we transfer $1,100,000 from Fund 10 to Fund 30 to balance those accounts. The positive component of this is next year, those accounts will be balanced, and you should not see me needing to fund transfer from Fund 10 to Fund 30 again.
Thank you, Dr. Gibbons. And at this time, members of the public may participate in public comment during board meetings by attending in person or by submitting an electronic public comment form. Please note that all speakers are limited to 3 minutes of time. Electronic public comments will be accepted up until 12 p.m. noon on the day of the scheduled meeting. Public commenter will be contacted to confirm identity. Once confirmed, the electronic public comment will be provided to all board members in written form. A link to the electronic public comment form is included in the attachments. Did we have any electronic public comment? No electronic public comment? Do we have any local public comment? Hearing no public comment, then I will adjourn this special board meeting. And now I'd like to call to order this board special meeting, public hearing on June 20th, 2022 at 7:10 p.m. in the Round Lake High School Library. And if I can get a roll call, please.
Mrs. Klingler?
Here.
Mr. Jewett?
Here.
Mrs. Larson?
Here.
Miss Lee?
Here.
Mr. De Vera?
Here.
Mr. Francisco?
Here.
Mrs. McGinley?
Here.
And with a roll call in place, we will turn it back over.
So this public hearing is about our budget amendment for fiscal 22. The budget amendment process does require that school districts who 30 days prior, I had reached out to the Board of Education, asked for approval to have a public hearing this evening, Monday, June 20th. That budget was placed on display on Tuesday, May 17th, and we've been in compliance with our 30-day requirement with that. We also had another legal notice that was published in the Chicago Tribune, Lake County News Sun, effective May 17th, again, to be in compliance with at least 30 days on display. As we look at our budget process, our final budget must be approved by the Board of Education by June 30th, which is the end of our fiscal year. We also need to make sure that we submit that final budget not only to the Regional Office of Education, but also to the Illinois State Board of Education. You may ask, why do we need to amend the budget? Funds that are exceeding more than 10% of the Board of Education originally approved expenditures require amendment according to Illinois Administrative Code Part 100. We did receive a significant amount of dollars through our federal grants and also through some other local sources. And with those revenues received, there was expenditures that went with that. So we did exceed 10% in our funds listed here. The budget is basically, again, an estimate of revenues and expenditures and other sources. The Board of Education approves us to spend a certain dollar amount. And again, anytime we would go over that 10% with those expenses, we do require Board of Education approval, not by line item, but by overall fund. As we look at the budget amendment, we are overall balanced. We do not receive any requirements for a deficit reduction plan. However, we are unbalanced specifically in our transportation fund, and that is due to a couple of reasons. We've seen some increase in fuel, and we've also seen a fuel situation with one of our fuel tanks with an insurance claim. So overall, we have a balanced budget. We do not need to do anything differently other than file these forms with the Illinois State Board of Education. Also, just want to talk a little bit about a summary and a celebration for the Board of Education and for our community. Our expenditures overall do not exceed our revenues. So when we look at our operating funds, which are 10, 20, and 40, those are not exceeding any of our revenue, our expenditures. We also want to make sure that we continue to monitor our financial climate, and you'll hear a little bit more about some investment opportunities a little later this evening. In maintaining our fiscal prudence and spending procedures, you do see that our fiscal financial profile score for fiscal 21 has gone up by 10 basis points. We are still in the recognition category, but we're getting closer to that 4.0 every day. So very pleased and proud that we've worked so hard as a team to do that. And at this point, this amended budget, I am recommending balanced for fiscal 22, pending your approval later this evening. Any questions?
All right, hearing no questions, then we will move again into the opportunity for public comment. Members of the public may participate in public comment during regular board meetings by attending in person or by submitting electronic public comment form. Please note, limited to 3 minutes. Electronic public comments are accepted up until 12 p.m. on the day of the meeting. Public commenter will be contacted to confirm identity, and once confirmed, electronic public comments will be provided to all board members in written form. Do we have any electronic public comments for this one? Hearing none there, do we have any public comments? Hearing none there, we will now adjourn this meeting. All right, and now I'd like to call to order this regular meeting of the Round Lake Area School District Board of Education 116 on June 20th, 2022 at 7:15 p.m. in the Round Lake High School Library. If I can get another roll call, please.
Mrs. McGinley?
Here.
Mr. Francisco?
Here.
Mr. De Vera? Miss Lee?
Here.
Mrs. Larson?
Here.
Mr. Jewett?
Here.
Mrs. Klingler?
Still here.
And with the roll call, let us please do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first up, we have approval of meeting agenda. Do we have an agenda in front of us? Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Klingler, seconded by Mr. Jewett. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. De Vera?
Yes.
Mrs. McGinley?
Yes.
Mr. Francisco?
Yes.
Miss Lee?
Yes.
Mrs. Larson?
Yes.
Mrs. Klingler?
Yes.
Mr. Jewett?
Yes.
And with an approved agenda, our first up is special recognition and presentations, our May Athletes of the Month.
In talking to Miss Moran, it was quite a decision as to who would be May Athletes of the Month. We had a fantastic spring season with many athletes who are deserving. We're going to start off with our female May Athlete of the Month, who needs no introduction, but I'm going to do it anyway, and that's Lily Burton. Her coach, Coach Lila, couldn't be here tonight, so she forwarded to me the introduction. And it reads, to the members of the board, members of central office, and most importantly to Lily and the members of her family, I am sorry I cannot be here in person to present Lily Burton as the May Athlete of the Month award winner. My own son is playing in a playoff baseball game, so just know that somewhere tonight I am clenching my fists, holding my breath, and rooting for the craziest 8-year-old I know. It's my honor to be able to speak a few words through Mike Berry on behalf of Lily Burton tonight. I know you all know Lily. We have all been a fan of hers since she started middle school athletics. We've sat and watched her dominate volleyball, basketball, and softball. We watched her balance athleticism, leadership, and sportsmanship with ease. Besides being a fan of hers, I was also able to be her teacher. She was an English 2 honors class of mine during remote learning. There I was able to witness the insane mental strength Lily has. Her perseverance and coachability are what puts her above her peers with equal athletic talent. So before I became her coach, I became her fan and her teacher. This year, when Lily decided to try out for track, I knew I would put her in triple jump, a jump that requires speed, power, and pinpoint body control. With the spring weather we weren't able to practice triple jump a lot before our meets began. At one of our first outdoor invites, I was talking to the Lake Forest coach when Lily came up and asked me how to triple jump again because she just wasn't able to remember. After I took her to do a little practice, we started the event, and Lily ended up winning the varsity triple jump by a wide margin. The Lake Forest coach found me later that night and shared with me that in 24 years of coaching, he had never seen that. He was amazed, he was floored, he was impressed. I just grinned and told him that if he knew Lily like I knew her, he wouldn't be shocked at all. So to all here tonight, it is no shock to me to present Lily to you, either for her accomplishments in triple jump during the month of May. After only doing the event for 1 month during May, Lily became the second best triple jumper in all of Lake County. I repeat, the second best triple jumper in all of Lake County. 2 weeks later, she became all sectional in the event by placing 5th at sectionals and in competition the entire night for a ticket to state. While she missed out on state, she did become the Round Lake record holder with her sectional jump of 34 feet, 8 inches. This is all very impressive for an athlete just learning track and field. I do not speak in hyperbole, so please know it's not a hyperbole when I say that Lily Burton is the best all-around athlete I have ever seen in my 17 years coaching for Round Lake. She is the best in all of us, and we are lucky to share in a piece of her story. So without further ado, I present to you Lily Burton. Yeah, when Lila told me that story, I was like, that's incredible. Right? Hey, how do you triple jump again? And then wins it. So we also have the male May Athlete of the Year is JB, Jamerio Brown. We were holding off because we didn't know if he was going to show, but we do have Kevin Brady to talk a little bit about JB.
I'm not going to be as eloquent as Coach Lilla. I'll just kind of give you the breakdown. JB had a fantastic season. This is basically the first season he was able to finish between getting hurt or COVID or other issues. But he dedicated himself this season to finishing the season and told me his goals were to qualify for state, be the MVP, and he was able to do all those things. So I want to give you some background on how his season finished because it was quite remarkable. We'll start with the conference meet. I put him on the 100-meter dash. He was the conference champ. He doesn't run the 100-meter dash. It's not his event. And his time puts him fourth place all-time in Round Lake history as the fourth fastest 100-meter dash person. He only took second place in the 400 with a personal best time of 50.21. Now, this is an important point in time because as we get to the end of the season and you're coming up to the sectional meet, you want people on your team that have a chance to go to state to be able to actually get the qualifying times or distances before they get to sectional so that they don't have to PR to get to state, they just have to do it again. So his time was 0.2 seconds below state qualifying, so it gave us some okay, all I gotta do is do that one more time and we'll go to state. So we get to the sectionals. He runs the 200, which again is not his race. He 23.07 gives him the fourth fastest time. He got fourth place, but it gave him the fifth fastest time in Round Lake history. And then he took third place in the 400 with a personal best time of 49.81, which now puts him second place all-time in Round Lake history behind the only state champ we've ever had. So he got fast. So he peaked at his best time at sectionals. It was fantastic to see. We were all so excited. So he was all sectional in both the 200 and the 400 sectionals. So we go down to state. Now state is a very pressure-packed situation because it's very different track meet than you have at every other track meet you go to. As coaches or athletes, we're not allowed on the infield. We can only stay up from the stands. So, the athletes can't be in the middle of the infield. They practice on the outside to get ready. They go into a tent and they sit there for a few minutes before they're allowed on the track. So it breaks up students or their athletes' routine. So it's very different. It's hard for some people to adapt. JB did a great job. So his time, it was a really hot day. His time wasn't as good. He got 50.77. So the way state works is there were 4 heats. The top person in each heat qualifies for the finals, and the next 5 fastest times qualify. So he gave us a heart attack. I think it was in the second heat, 50.77. So we're waiting for everybody else's to run and the time, and then somebody ties him in a different heat, and he's tied for 9th. Now you only bring 9 to finals. So now we're what are they going to do? Because they only have 9 lanes on the track. There's 10 people that just kind of qualified. So turns out they had to have 2 heats in the 400 for the finals. So they had a heat of 7 and a heat of 3. JB was in a heat of 3. He had to beat one person, which he did. He beat the guy that he tied the previous day, and he became all-state, and he was a state medalist. He got 9th place. So that was a fantastic finish. We've only had, as far as I know, 2 state medalists for boys track, so he's the second one, and it was a great finish to an awesome season, and we're really proud of him and what he was able to accomplish and the hard work that he put in, so we're all very proud. That's JB.
I think that's the second time tonight I heard something that I've never heard before. Kevin, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that, and wish he was here so we could embarrass him a little bit. But thanks for sharing.
All right. Next up is communications to the board, and I have a first up on the CEDAW Governing Board recap.
Mine's super brief. We were supposed to have a meeting at the beginning of June, and we couldn't get a quorum together. So it's been moved to the end of June, and I will give you guys all an update right after that.
Thank you. All right, then next up is social emotional learning update.
Hi, good evening, board. I'm back. So I wanted to give you an update just on how this year went. We were still focusing on our 3 R's, the relationships with the community circles, routines and behavior expectations, and then the regulation with Calm Classroom. The first thing I wanted to talk about was thank you so much for the additional staff that you provided us across the district. With the 2 more CNI specialists, we were able to provide more SEL calendars, more curriculum supports at the middle school level, and then we also had one at the high school level. And so all of those teachers were then able to have more support in their building on a regular basis, where the 2 previous years we had 1 person who was covering all 11 buildings. With the behavior interventionists, we had 1 of those in every single building, and we had 2 at the high school. And again, they were able to help with those tier 1 strategies, getting students acclimated, coming back into the classrooms, helping with those routines, helping the teachers with intervention plans, gathering data, progress monitoring, and then doing the data analysis in order to help our students move and be able to stay in the classroom. And then the last one was one that you guys specifically asked for, was how are we helping our staff? And so for each of our buildings, we had a wellness and self-care rep, and their entire goal this year, I told them, was help the staff find their smile. They did that by doing weekly community circles, doing monthly newsletters, and then quarterly they would do social gatherings, whether they were going and doing axe throwing, socially distanced, of course, or if they were just taking walks around the school when we were still in mitigation efforts. So I wanted to say thank you for that. The staff has been amazing. We've been able to do so much. All right, so on to Panorama. So these are the 5 survey topics that we use from Panorama. And so I just wanted to refresh your mind on the teacher-student relationships, sense of belonging, social awareness, self-management, and emotion regulation. Because we've been using Panorama now for, it's been almost 5 school years, but it's been 4 times in the spring. I wanted to show you the trend data that we have for each of those categories for all of the elementary schools together, and then the 3 secondary schools together. And when you sit there and you look at it and you see NAs, there are some where we didn't do those particular categories that spring session, just so that if you're wondering how they were. Most of them we were able to maintain after we were in COVID. And then when we came back, we did take a little bit of a dip this year. And I believe when I talked to the staff and when I talked to the students, it was a struggle to come back. But we did not see huge decline. So to me, that was a positive going from spring of last year to spring of this year. So one thing I wanted to do was to show you how each of the schools compared. So all of the greens are schools when you compare either the number of community circle students that participated in the community circle questions each week, or the percentage that participated in Calm Classroom or mindfulness, or in each of the other 5 SEL topics. The green shows you that they improved from last year to this year. Yellow is they maintained, and pink is where they slid just a little bit. One of the schools I wanted to highlight was Murphy. Murphy took this year and they focused specifically on the 3 R's. So every time they had a staff meeting, every time that they were doing morning meeting with their students, they were focusing on those community circles, the Calm Classrooms, and they improved in every single category that was here. And then I wanted to see how that compared with their behavior data. And when you look at, again, I only wanted to go through March because that was then a year that we could compare when we went out for COVID. If you look at it, you had like 378, the next year 326. This year, when you go from August to March, it was 78. And so, again, just showing the data and saying, I wonder if it's working. So another thing that I wanted to look at is going through and breaking down the number of community circle time students participated in community circle questions in any given week, and then comparing it to their emotion regulation mean scores, their self-management mean scores, and their social awareness mean score. And again, a highlight is the community circle questions. We have only 17% of the students who are not participating, but when you think about that, then that's 83% of our students are participating in community circle questions, getting to know information about their fellow classmates, as well as their teachers. And when you look at the mean scores, again, they're increasing the more times that they're participating. And if you look at mindfulness, same thing is there's actually, the scores are higher when it comes to dealing with the calm classroom and mindfulness and the scores. Still want to work on that. 30% of our students are not participating, but again, I'll take it as a win because 2 years ago, 0% were doing it. So I'll take the 70% are doing it. Why do we need to continue this work? 80% of our 11 to 17-year-olds with moderate to severe depression and anxiety report that COVID isolation is one of their top reasons for distress. So we need to get them back into school. We need to get them connected. We need to show them that they have adults that care about them. In order to flatten the mental health curve, we need to continue everything that we're doing. Our district is above everybody else when it comes to when I'm talking with them and they're like, hey, Jen, what are you guys doing? We do this and we do this and we do this for our parents and we do this and we do monthly newsletters and we have social media things and we do this. And they go, huh, yeah, we don't do that yet. I was like, start, because it makes a difference. So providing the social supports, providing the positive coping skills, the parent-child discussions, this is all going to help our students so that now that they're coming back for a following year, that they're going to do even bigger and better things. So thank you for your support. Any questions?
Go.
Okay, I always have questions because I also use this fabulous program. Are we using, and I don't know if we have all of the components, are we helping our teachers to use the, I can't think of the name of it.
Student Success Platform?
Yeah, but also they have the suggestions for the teachers for different activities they can do and whatnot.
The playbook.
Yeah, the playbook. Because in looking at like the student-teacher relationships,
Yep.
it's all pink.
Yeah. So right now, we didn't want to add another thing to their plate for this year, but coming back with everything. In the fall, they're going to have access to everything. So they'll have the student success platform. They'll have the playbook. We also are adding the behavior analytics so that they'll have that. Our MTSS teams were using it in all of the buildings, specifically at the elementary level, they were using it, and at the middle school level. But next year, the intent is to be like, hey, here's Panorama. Because when teachers see it and they have access to it, they're like, Jen, this is so easy to use. And all we have to do is click and there's everything right there. And we can put them into groups and it does this for, I was like, I know. So thank you.
I just want to thank you for all the effort you put into this. I saw benefits even with my own kids, and I know we have a lot of people here that are very analytical and numbers driven. I'm kind of the other way, and I think both of those are very important, and so I appreciate that you're like that with this, so thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up, we have our school improvement plan monitoring update.
Dr. Rowling and I are here to bring you the last installment of school improvement monitoring for this year. We would like to let you know that we did bring all of the school leadership teams together 2 weeks ago to reflect upon the work that they did this year and then start developing their new school improvement plans, which you will see in the fall. You will notice that some people have shifts, which I think is normal at the end of the year once they look at the work that they've done and start talking about the things that they want to do next year. So with that said, do you have any questions for us regarding any of the plans, any of the monitoring?
Any questions? Again, as always, thank you for the great clarity when it comes to the scorecard, and thank you. All right, next up we have Dr. Kibbens with the District Investment Opportunity in alignment with Board Policy 4:30. Excitement.
It is exciting. Board, as I mentioned earlier, this is the time of the year where we receive the majority of our taxes for this fiscal quarter. And with that being said, there are dollars that we will not expend yet until a little bit later in the year. So in an effort to have our money, make money, Treasury bills are one of the safest opportunities to invest in. As I mentioned to Finance Committee earlier, a couple of months ago, even a couple of years ago, I would have never mentioned to a Board of Education to invest in Treasury bills. But because of the rate increase with the feds, that is really hot right now in the market. So if the board would allow me to look at $5 million, that would not affect any of our responsibilities with paying our bills on time or affect any of our operating expenses. With where those rates are for about 6 months in duration, the district could make approximately $50,000 to $55,000, and we wouldn't even miss where those dollars would be. I'm monitoring the market closely. It dipped a little bit at the end of last week, so it would have been closer to the $50,000 range. Today the markets were closed, but if the board would authorize that, I will do my due diligence and have our money work to its best ability.
And Pam, I think it's important for the board to know this. I'm not sure I'm saying it properly. There's no risk to this. We can't, this isn't a traditional interest bearing or like an investment that you would traditionally see. So there's no risk to the district with this. Is that fair?
That is correct. Treasury bills is one of the items that's listed within our board policy that we have this authorization to invest in. So it is a risk-free, it's basically investing back into the United States of America Treasury, which is where these dollars are invested. And we have a banker over here who's shaking her head. She knows this.
And this is the, I was going to say, and this
Yes,
is the
it's just-
regular
yeah,
time that I
just to-
turn it over to the finance.
Yeah, just to add, so it was vetted with Finance Committee, and I did talk to Dr. Kibbens at great lengths. You know, again, we always appreciate her finding these opportunities to make our money work for us, and it is fully supported by the Finance Committee.
Just curious, where was the money sitting before?
The money, since I've been here, that those would have been dollars that we would send to State Bank of the Lakes and have it be there with one of our max safe accounts. So it was earning some interest, but this is like 1 to 2 full basis points higher, and it's short term. You're always earning interest, it's just earning more interest.
I assumed, I was just asking for clarity.
So there's no formal action, it's just giving Dr. Kibbens, if everyone's in full support.
Once those dollars are invested, I will update you through Heather Bennett so that you have an update where we're at. Thank you.
Yep, looks like you have full support to continue earning us more money. Thank you. All right, next up is just the strategic plan monthly update, the final report for 21-22.
Yeah, just we're not going to call anything out. I just want to thank the board for taking the time in May. We had that longer meeting. I think that's maybe something the board should consider doing on an annual basis in terms of being able to have a dedicated meeting to talk about district initiatives, the progress, the strategic planning. I think it's pretty clear we worked the plan. The team did add some end of the year content. You have it in your packet. We're certainly entertaining any questions, but given we just had the end of the year meeting, we're really not going to call anything specific out. But just very pleased with the work the team did this year. I want to thank them publicly for continuing to move the district forward.
Thank you for that, and not hearing any additional questions. Next up is the review of the FOIA report. I know we had a couple of emails in regards to it? Any questions in regards to the FOIA? Hearing none there, then we'll move on to contracts under 1,000. And this is one that I can kick over to our finance committee as well. I know they reviewed it as well, but it looks like we had one contract under 1,000.
It's
Any
for,
Go ahead.
it is for a future date, for an event held in the community. So come on out on the 24th, right? It's the Latino.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, and I would definitely ask if we can have that sent out on our calendar so that we can make sure we have representation at that. Perfect. Hearing no additional questions on contracts under 1,000, we will now move to public comment. Members of the public may participate in public comment during regular board meetings by attending in person or by submitting an electronic public comment form. Please note the speakers are limited to 3 minutes. Electronic public comments will be accepted up until 12 noon on the day of the scheduled meeting, and the public commenter will be contacted to confirm identity. Once confirmed, the electronic public comment will be provided to all board members in written form. Did we have any electronic public comment for this meeting? Hearing none there, do we have any public comment for this meeting? Seeing none, then we will move on, and next up is our superintendent's report. Dr. Mendoza.
Thank you, Board President Francisco and Board of Education. I'd like to formally congratulate our one and only Sarah Fontana, our Ela Literacy Coordinator, as she was recently published in eSchool News. Congratulations, Sarah's here. She's over there. Sarah waved, everybody. How many is that? Is that your third this year or second? Yeah, I thought it was number 3, but titled "To Help Young Students Read, Acceleration Beats Remediation," focuses on how to deliver consistent instruction across a large and diverse district. We, for your convenience, in the electronic form, we've included the link. I've read the article; it's really good. And it just, again, I know I'm smiling. It's just we have such talented people here. I mean, it's not normal to have an individual in a single district have multiple articles published in a year. So, Sarah, we're grateful for you. Rosalind Franklin University partnerships continue. We're pleased to report that our partnership with Rosalind Franklin University continues this summer through the Inspire and Science Saturday programs. Round Lake Area School District 116 currently has 5 students participating in the Inspire program and will have up to 10 students in the Science Saturdays program this summer. Inspire is an 8-week mentoring and applied research program designed to build the pipeline for underrepresented in medicine students pursuing higher education in the fields of science and biomedical research. Its primary purpose is to provide hands-on biomedical research opportunities and mentoring to promising high school and college students. Science Saturdays is a 10-week program that runs Saturdays, obviously, from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. This program is offered up to 10 Round Lake High School students. Students are recruited through the RLAS Future Medical Panther Club. This program provides hands-on learning experiences for students who have an interest in science and medicine. Only students from Round Lake, Waukegan, and North Chicago are accepted into this program. That concludes this month's Superintendent's Report.
Thank you, Dr. Mendoza. Any questions on the superintendent's report? Hearing none, we will now move on to the Finance Committee update.
All right, good evening. With the board being on their summer schedule and only meeting once a month, you'll see a lot of the items that are on the Finance Committee that are on also the regular agenda for action or review, as you heard Dr. Kibben speak in regards to a few of the items that were on the Finance Committee. So I will speak to all these agenda items as they come up in the regular board meeting agenda to save time. So I'd like to highlight or go over the only 2 agenda items that are not on the regular board meeting. The first one being the high school theater sound system and the stadium sound system. The high school theater, again, is moving along. They actually will start tomorrow. This is the high school theater sound. They have, as mentioned by Mr. Kozak, we might have some issues with regard to sourcing items and material for the sound system. There are 13 items. They did go out and found items that were equal and in some cases better equipment, specifically the little head pieces, the microphones that they wear for plays and concerts and such. Because the lead time was going to be at least a year for for these items. Obviously, we can't wait that long. And they did vet either purchasing, again, these equal or greater items, or renting. So to purchase them, it would be $9,800. We did have a $25,000 allowance in the budget of what we budgeted for the theater sound system. So we'll take that $9,800 out of that $25,000, because to rent was going to be about $8,000. So we might as well just purchase it. So again, that starts tomorrow. We are on target to hopefully complete in August, but they kick off tomorrow. So we'll, of course, keep you up to date as the summer moves along. The stadium sound system, as you know, that project has completed, and we all got to hear at graduation. I did mention the sound. Hopefully you guys heard the difference. I know the weather probably played a bigger part in the day than the sound, but it definitely was noticeably different. And I hope everyone heard that, and I think they did a great job, and I think we would do the same setup moving forward with graduation. The other item that we spoke on the agenda was the middle school promotion gowns. Did receive the invoices in regards to those gowns. Dr. Rowling will be doing some research and vetting on whether purchasing or renting. So we went over those costs and then maybe what that might look like for budget. So we'll definitely be bringing that back, but they do know that our middle schools will have gowns moving forward. And then again, there's the treasury report, which I always encourage you all to look at the great work, again, that Dr. Kibbens is doing in the district. And again, all the other items I'll speak to as they come up in the agenda. But any questions?
Hearing no questions, I thank you. All right, now we are up to approval of open meeting.
Right, I need a motion to approve the May 16th, 2022 regular meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Larson, seconded by Ms. Lee. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Mrs. Klingler,
Yes.
Mrs. Larson,
Yes.
Miss Lee,
Abstain.
Mr. Devera,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Mrs. McGinley,
Yes.
And motion carries.
Need a motion to approve the May 24th, 2022 special meeting minutes.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Ms. Lee, seconded by Mrs. Klingler. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Devera,
Yes.
Mrs. McGinley,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Miss Lee,
Yes.
Mrs. Larson,
Abstain.
Mrs. Klingler,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
And motion carries.
I need a motion to approve the May 25th, 2022 special meeting expulsion hearing meeting minutes.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mrs. Klingler, seconded by Ms. Lee. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Mrs. McGinley,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Mr. Devera,
Yes.
Miss Lee,
Yes.
Mrs. Larson,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Abstain.
Mrs. Klingler,
Abstain.
And motion carries.
I need a motion to approve the consent agenda for the accounts payable report for $2,598,494.31. The previous motions report for $280,884.79. The May 2022 Treasurers Report, the May 2022 P-Card Report, and the June 20th, 2022 Employment Report.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Klingler, seconded by Mr. Jewett. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Mrs. McGinley,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Mrs. Klingler,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Mr. De Vera,
Yes.
Miss Lee,
Yes.
Mrs. Larson.
Yes.
And motion carries, which now brings us to introduction of new administration.
That away, Ray. Step right up. You're first.
So thank you so much for having us. I would love to introduce Kathleen Carden, our new assistant principal at Indian Hill Elementary School. Katie began her teaching career in 1992. During that early years of teaching, Katie developed a passion for working with diverse learners and would often scan the grade level below her and ask her principal to place the most challenging students in her classrooms. After her sixth child was born with a diagnosis of Down syndrome, Katie's passion for working with differently abled learners continued to grow. She enrolled at National Lewis University for her master's degree in educational leadership with the goal of building the capacity of educators in private schools to better serve the varying needs of diverse populations. This led her to the Archdiocese of Chicago, where she spent 6 years as the principal of the school SS Faith, Hope, and Charity. After that, she moved to, St. Matthias, where she spent another 4 years. And she was authorized as an international baccalaureate school. During her leadership, Katie received a certificate from Loyola University in leading inclusive schools. Additionally, she will be graduating next week from a 3-year fellowship at the University of Notre Dame Center for Transitional Emotional Educational Leadership. Katie's various experiences as an educator make it easy for her to connect with teachers, and her experiences as a parent will allow her to relate with our parents. Raising 6 children has given her firsthand knowledge of a cognitive disability, language barrier, learning disability, anxiety, and ADHD. This knowledge will help her connect empathetically and understand the unique challenges facing both our teachers and our parents. She's looking forward to joining me in supporting our district strategic plan. She is also looking forward to just getting in the doors of Indian Hill and beginning to build relationships as she becomes acquainted with District 116. Again, let me welcome Katie Carden.
You got to hold the button in. We have these weird mics. I'm just kidding, Dan. Don't take that
We have
personally.
higher tech stuff than we do in the Catholic school system. Thank you for that introduction, Mr. Porton. It was clear when I started my job search, from seeing the posting for Indian Hill and looking at the district website and looking at the school website, it was very clear that this was a district that really invests in their teachers as well as provides robust resources for students. So I'm really looking forward to my contract ending currently June 30th and rolling up my sleeves here at Indian Hill to help support staff members to increase teaching and learning at Indian Hill. So thank you very much, board, for the opportunity.
All right, good evening, everybody. As we got a chance to do the interviews for our athletic director position, there was this phrase that kept coming up, and it kept saying that athletics sit as the front porch for any high school. And when I thought about that, I thought that makes a lot of sense. And part of that front porch would be a strong foundation. And when I thought about that, I thought about our facilities. And throughout our interviews, the strength of our facilities kept coming up from different athletic directors in our county, outside our county, and various head coaches within our conference. So tonight I want to give thanks to you. It made me very proud to hear that, and I know that means a lot to our student athletes. So thank you for what you've done to improve the facilities at Round Lake High School. As I'm giving out thanks, I definitely want to thank our committee that was made up of our head coaches, was made up of our student athletes and various administrators throughout the district. We had the privilege to interview multiple layers of applicants, and we definitely believe that we found the person who was the best fit for this position. Tonight is my pleasure to introduce Ethan Carosak to the Round Lake Panther community. Ethan has served as the athletic director at Larkin High School for 5 years. While there, he created a student-athlete leadership team, proposed and secured a passage of hate speech protocol for the Upstate 8 Conference, and had added 2 varsity sports while at Larkin. During his time there, he oversaw a significant increase in participation and improvement in facilities. Ethan believes that education-based athletics are an extension of the classroom, where student athletes have the opportunity to learn leadership skills and habits of excellence, which ultimately lead to successful futures. Ethan and his family are thrilled to be joining the Panther family and look forward to building championships in the classrooms, on the court and fields, and overall in life. As a former Panther student athlete and now principal of Round Lake High School, it is a great honor to welcome Ethan Carosak as the athletic director of Round Lake High School.
Thank you. Thank you for that warm welcome. Thank you to the board. Thank you to Dr. Mendoza, Dr. Rowling, Principal Peterson for this fantastic opportunity. As Brian said, my family, they're here tonight, my wife and my 2 sons. We are over the moon excited about joining the Round Lake family. And I really look forward to getting to know all of you, letting you get to know me and my family, because running an athletic program at the high school level is a family affair. And I'm just really, really excited to get started and to work side by side with all of you to give Panther students a first-class athletic experience for many years to come. Thank you.
I'm here to present a familiar face to the board. Jeff King has been with us for the past 3 years, where he served as the principal at Pleviac for 2 years and most recently at Village Elementary. When Jeff is not working, he spends all of his time with his family. His wife Ann is a school psychologist in St. Charles. His daughter Alana just finished her freshman year at Hope College with honors. And his youngest daughter Maggie will be a senior at St. Charles North this year. Jeff loves working in Round Lake and is committed to doing whatever is needed to help move Round Lake area schools forward, serving our family and community. On a personal note, I don't think there are too many people that bring as much energy as Dr. King brings to the table. I had the honor of meeting with him for what was supposed to be an hour. I think we went about 2.5 the other day. He is passionate, and we are very excited to have him as the next principal at McGee Middle School.
Thank you so much. It's a honor and privilege to work in the district. So I truly want to thank the board and Dr. Mendoza and colleagues for all the support the past few years. Absolutely could not have done it without everybody in the room, and especially Casey back there, which you'll hear about her in a couple minutes. But just truly appreciate and am honored to work in the community. So before I walk around and shake hands, I'm actually going to be introducing my new assistant principal at McGee. So John, if you want to join me. So with me, I have Mr. John Randolph, who came to the district in 2012 as a middle school science teacher at Round Lake Middle. Before embarking on his second career, he served honorably in the United States Marine Corps and then worked as a restoration mechanic and systems technician for Mercedes-Benz. Since joining District 116, he has been in the various roles, including a science teacher at Round Lake Middle, instructional coach, CNI for science, and recently AP at Indian Hill. He loves what he does and is dedicated to the district and to our mission and vision. The middle school level is his passion, and we are very excited to have him join Frank and I over at McGee to make some noise this year. So welcome.
So I want to give, I know this is going to go off this track a little bit, Lily Burton. I got to give her kudos, and I have to tell you why. I coached volleyball at McGee, and every time we had to play around like middle school, I knew we were going up in her. This goes for Dana as well. It was rough. It was rough. I gotta say it was rough. But what I did was I understood that I needed to take that opportunity for my players to look at players that were better than them, and look at them and realize if you work hard, this is where you're going to get. If you take and again, just watch, learn, practice, you can be at that level too. And I was just thinking about this right now because I had the bullet points in my head. Was like what I was going to say. They went out the door when I saw her. But in thinking about that, just the leadership alone that is here in Round Lake, it's the opportunity for me to grow professionally, build those leadership skills, and I'm really looking forward to this opportunity to work at McGee, be back in the middle school arena, which I do believe is my wheelhouse. So again, I want to thank the board. I want to thank everybody. I want to thank everybody in this room for supporting me and giving me this opportunity, giving me the chance, especially Dr. Mendoza. Thank you.
Well, good evening. I am extremely excited to introduce Casey Kurtz to you this evening. On a personal note, it's kind of coming full circle. Casey was one of the first people I hired when I came to Ela School, so it warms my heart to be able to tell you her story and introduce her as the next principal of Village School. Casey's entering her 14th year in education, 11 of which have been here in Round Lake. She began her career as a third grade teacher at Ellis Elementary School for 4 years, beginning in 2012. Then she got her master's in reading with the Reading Specialist endorsement and served as a reading specialist for 3 years at Ellis Elementary. During that time, she also served as lead teacher. She served on the school leadership team and was a mentor to new teachers while obtaining her second master's degree in educational leadership with a focus on school administration. This led her to her most recent 3 years of service as Village's assistant principal. She hopes to pursue her doctorate one day, but right now, in addition to this very busy job that she has, she also keeps busy with her husband, Kevin, her 2-year-old son, Luke, and her rescue dog, Marley. With that said, I'd like to introduce Casey Kurtz as the principal of Village School.
Well, Jeff said I can't cry, so I'm going to do my best. 10 years ago, I stood before this board in the same room being approved to become a teacher. I have loved my time in Round Lake, and I look forward to continuing supporting the village community as well as our district. And I want to thank you for the opportunity, as well as the many mentors I've had in this room surrounding me right now. Thank you.
All right, we're getting there. Just a few more left. It is my pleasure, for sure, and I'm beyond excited to introduce to all of you Melanie Knapp as our new Director of Language Acquisition. Melanie received her bachelor's degree from NIU in Spanish Language Arts and Literature with a teaching license in world language, so we have a little connection there for sure. She then followed her bachelor's degree with her first master's degree, also from NIU in Curriculum and Instruction, where she also earned her ESL and bilingual endorsement, and then followed that up with another master's degree from the University of Illinois in school leadership. Melanie is now going into her 16th year in education. Her experience in education includes 9 years of teaching experience in grades K through 12 in all different kinds of programs, transitional bilingual, dual language, world language, and also resource support. After teaching, Melanie moved into administration here in Round Lake. So she has held 2 administrative positions here in Round Lake. This will be her 3rd position. Melanie lives in Lake Zurich with her husband, also named Kevin, Casey, a 12-year-old stepdaughter, Robin, and then her new baby girl, Stella, who will be 6 months old tomorrow. So as far as what are Melanie's interests, she loves cooking, kayaking, and traveling, but with a 6-month-old, traveling is on the back burner right now, and all things baby is have taken over. So congratulations, Melanie. Really excited for you.
Got to move the mic super low. Thank you so much for this opportunity. As Lisa explained, majority of my career has been spent working for multilingual families. So I'm thrilled to now be able to lead the department and use my experiences in this position. I'm very fortunate to work for a district that supports dual language programming, especially since we have the unique ability, being a unit district, to give students the opportunity to become biliterate and bilingual all the way through the 12th grade. So this is very exciting for me, and I'm thrilled to continue developing programming for our multilingual families. Thank you.
I'm going to bring it home right here with Betty. Yeah. All right, here we go. All right, so I'm excited to introduce Betty Hartwig as the new Grants and Budget Manager. Betty has served as an administrator in the Technology Department since 2015. Most recently, she has been the Manager of Project and Technology Support. She is a certified professional in project management, as well as a certified facilitator. In addition, she is a senior advisor to the Small Business Development Center at McHenry County College through the U.S. Small Business Administration grant funding. Betty has also served as the procurement director for the College of Lake County through the U.S. Small Business Administration grant funding. Prior to joining the district, Betty gained executive experience working with the nonprofit sector, leveraging her expertise and skill set to support strategy and sustainability objectives through grant funding. She has experience in all phases of grant administration, including grant writing, execution, and reporting. Betty has been a keynote speaker for the Library Administrative Conference of Northern Illinois, the Illinois Association of Collegiate Registrars and Admission Officers, and the People in Need Conference, in addition to the Illinois Principals Association Annual Leadership Breakfast. She is a very, very busy woman, but highly organized. We're excited to have her taking this new role. So Betty Hartwig.
Thank you so much, and I'd like to extend my sincere appreciation and gratitude, simply gratitude, to continue to serve the district in this role. I think it's an important role, and I appreciate the opportunity to leverage my skill set, my passion on behalf of the district, particularly the students. And I do have to say I have been blessed with the extraordinary leadership under Dr. Mendoza, under Dan Kozik, and certainly Dr. Susan Senner in this role. And I have so much to be thankful for that. So I appreciate it, and I look forward to leveraging my skills on behalf. Thank you.
So I just have a real quick comment. I sincerely want to welcome Kathleen and Ethan to the team. I want to thank your family members for being here. I think that's really important. It's just a very, very special place to work. And I think the one thing that became clear tonight is, in addition to welcoming you, think of all the internal moves. Aside from Ethan and Kathleen, we've had people being promoted this evening or changing departments altogether. The last one, Betty, is switching to the other side of the organization, which really speaks to Dan and his team and the opportunities that we provide our people. So I just really, I don't think we've had a night like this in a while. I was a little worried. Like, I don't want our new people to think that we can't keep administrators. That's actually not what happened. I mean, there's a huge domino effect here, but it's really for us, it's family, your home family first, your work family second. So we're just grateful. I'm just tickled to see, like, I look around the room and I see the advancement of the people in this room over multiple years, and tonight is kind of an extension of that. You know, Jeff, I don't necessarily view middle school as an advancement over elementary, but just different. But your leadership's transferable. You're going to do great things at McGee. But just really grateful for the board for allowing us to provide high-level leadership and to keep our people with the type of work environment that we have. So just got great people. I'm like super jacked for the fall. Like, I can't wait. I see Brian back there with a big smile, and just really, really talented team. The last thing I'll say is you don't have to stay for the rest of the meeting. So this part of the meeting, usually it clears out. So if you're going to leave, it would be now would be the time. So, but thanks for being here with your families.
Dr. Benedict, we're going to need to work on how you keep a crowd. All right, well, as the large vacuum pulls out the door, we will now move to old business. And first up on that.
All right. I need a motion to approve the continued appointment of Dr. Pamela Kivens as the Round Lake Area School District 116 Treasurer, and consider the request for the administration to execute all documents to secure the required surety bond.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Francisco, seconded by Mrs. Larson. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Klingler,
Absolutely, yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Mrs. Larson,
Yes.
Ms. Lee,
Yes.
Mr. De Vera,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Mrs. McGinley,
Yes.
Motion carries.
Need a motion to approve the fiscal 2022 amended budget.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Jewett, seconded by Ms. Lee. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Mrs. McGinley,
Yes.
Mr. De Vera,
Yes.
Mrs. Larson,
Yes.
Mrs. Klingler,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Ms. Lee,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes. And motion carries.
I need a motion to approve the permanent interfund transfer in the amount of $1,100,000 from Fund 10 Education to Fund 30 Debt Service.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Klingler, seconded by Mr. Jewett. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. De Vera,
Yes.
Mrs. Larson,
Yes.
Mrs. Klingler,
Yes.
Mrs. McGinley,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Ms. Lee,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
And motion carries.
I need a motion to approve the 2022-2023 annual teaching and learning contract renewals.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Jewett, seconded by Ms. Lee. Any questions?
Just to refresh the board's memory, with it being such a long time, those were reviewed by finance last month.
Thank you for that. Hearing no questions, roll call, please.
Mrs. Larson,
Yes.
Mr. De Vera,
Yes.
Mrs. McGinley,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Mrs. Klingler,
Yes.
Ms. Lee,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
And motion carries.
I need a motion to approve the 1.0 FTE increase of the library media assistant for the amount of $50,400.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Francisco, seconded by Mr. Jewett. Do we have any questions or comments in regards?
Again, we reviewed this last board meeting. This position is split between the high school and Ellis. But again, we did review that last month.
Hearing no questions, roll call, please.
Mrs. Klingler,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Mrs. Larson,
Yes.
Miss Lee,
Yes.
Mr. De Vera,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Mrs. McGinley,
Yes.
Motion carries.
I need a motion to approve the increase of 1.0 FTE special education teacher.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Francisco, seconded by Mrs. Klingler, just barely. Any questions in regards? Reminders?
See, this was reviewed tonight at the Finance Committee meeting. Again, this is a special education teacher needed for the increase at Round Lake Middle School.
Hearing no additional questions, roll call, please.
Miss Lee,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Mr. De Vera,
Yes.
Mrs. McGinley,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Mrs. Larson,
Yes.
Mrs. Klingler,
Yes.
And the motion carries.
I need a motion to approve the request for 1.0 FTE ESL teacher at Round Lake Middle School.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Jewett, seconded by Ms. Larson. Any questions? Any reminders?
Again, this was reviewed previously. Again, this is for Round Lake Middle School due to the increase of enrollment.
Yeah, and just a point of clarification for the board, we try not to do one-off staffing requests, but what happens it happens every year. We make the initial request, our schedules get finalized, end of the year is when annual reviews happen coupled with access testing, and so on occasion, we need to come back and say, hey, we need to plug this and we need to hire this. So just try not to do the one-offs, but periodically it happens because of the end of the year scheduling for the subsequent year.
Yeah, I was gonna say, did we get a motion? Did I? Yes? Okay, roll call then. Thank you.
Mrs. McGinley,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Mr. De Vera,
Yes.
Miss Lee,
Yes.
Mrs. Larson,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Mrs. Klingler,
Yes.
And motion carries.
I need a motion to approve the renewal of our E-rate consulting service agreement with Infinite Connections in the dollar amount of $16,500.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Larson, seconded by Ms. Lee. Any questions? Any reminders?
Yeah, this again was reviewed at the Finance Committee meeting earlier today. Again, this is the consultant that we use for our E-rate. They have, this will be our 6th renewal with them. They have been a great partner in working with Mr. Kozak and again, with all that is needed for our E-rate reimbursement.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Klingler,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Mrs. Larson,
Yes.
Miss Lee,
Yes.
Mr. De Vera,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Mrs. McGinley,
Yes.
Motion carries.
Need a motion to approve the second meal and extra piece of fruit at cost.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Klingler, seconded by Mr. Jewett. Any reminders, reviews?
Again, this was reviewed at the Finance Committee meeting. This gives the opportunity for those students who would like to purchase an additional meal that costs us $3 or a second piece of fruit for 75 cents. Again, it's just giving those students the option to purchase.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Lee,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Mrs. Klingler,
Yes.
Mrs. Larson,
Yes.
Mr. De Vera,
Yes.
Mrs. McGinley,
Yes.
Motion carries.
I need a motion to approve the Municipal Research Service, Inc. agreement in the amount of $1,500.
So moved.
Second. Motion by Ms. Lee, seconded by Mr. Francisco. Any questions, renewals, reminders?
Yes, again, this was reviewed tonight at the Finance Committee meeting. This is the Municipal Research Group. We use them for our CAFR report, the CAFR being our Comprehensive Annual Financial Report. They provide the demographics and local information that you see in the financial report. We have used them for a few years. They have been a great partner for us in providing information into the CAFR. I know I've worked with Dr. Kibbens with them, being a lifelong resident. Changes that need to be made in some of that demographic information. So they've worked well with us and do provide that information for our CAFR report.
Hearing no questions, we will go to roll call.
Mrs. McGinley,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Mr. De Vera,
Yes.
Ms. Lee,
Yes.
Mrs. Larson,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Mrs. Klingler,
Yes.
Motion carries.
I need a motion to approve the 2022-2023 Life Touch contract with an option of two one-year renewals.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Klingler, seconded by Ms. Lee.
Yes, again, this was reviewed at Finance, and just to speak to the option of 2 1-year, we only went with a 1 year this year as we continued to work with Life Touch to make sure that they are offering what our families and needs are within the district. As you know, Life Touch, or may not know, was bought out by Shutterfly, so it's Life Touch Shutterfly. So they are working well with us. Our families will have a new option this year of a cheaper package of $9.99, which will be good. In reviewing the contract, Finance brought up just some alignment for volunteer packages that we offer our families. So Dr. Kibbens did address that with them, and we got that corrected. So they are showing that they want to work with the district and the community.
And just as a reminder, they're across the board. All of our schools are them, correct?
Correct. They're at all our schools. And again, this is no cost to the district. This is a service and opportunity we provide to our families with school and athletic photos.
Thank you. Hearing no additional questions, roll call, please.
Mr. De Vera,
Yes.
Mrs. McGinley,
Yes.
Ms. Lee,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Mrs. Klingler,
Yes.
Mrs. Larson,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Motion carries.
I need a motion to approve the 2022-2023 Lakeside Special Education Transportation Contract.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Francisco, seconded by Mrs. Larson. Any reminders?
Yes. Again, this was reviewed by Finance. This is transportation for some of our students. Special education. Thank you, students. Again, the contract increase was going to be 13% with Lakeside. You'll see it is 10.75%. Of course, fuel being a big driver for the increase. But, Dr. Kivens is very savvy in her negotiations, definitely helped to reduce that. But again, fuel is a big driver right now.
And roll call, please.
Mrs. Klingler,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Mrs. Larson,
Yes.
Ms. Lee,
Yes.
Mr. Devera,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Mrs. McGinley,
Yes.
Motion carries.
I need a motion to approve the purchase of Class Kick Pro subscription in the amount of $11,880.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Klingler, seconded by Ms. Lee. Reminders.
Yes, again, this was reviewed at Finance. This is an app that is used for the middle school and the high schools that helps teachers create and share assignments, give feedback live as they're working. Again, we are only doing this in the 2 middle schools and the high school. We did ask about our elementary students. They're going to continue to vet this through the middle school and high school, and they will be looking at 4 or 5 in the future.
Hearing no additional questions, roll call, please.
Mrs. McGinley,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Mr. Devera,
Yes.
Ms. Lee,
Yes.
Mrs. Larson,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Mrs. Klingler,
Yes.
Motion carries.
I need a motion to approve a 3-year subscription with Raptor Visitor Management and Emergency Management System software in the amount of $41,550.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Devera, seconded by Mr. Jewett.
Yes. Again, this was reviewed by Finance. This being this, when you walk into the high school or any of our buildings, they take your ID, they scan it, you get the nice little visitor. So we use it for that, and it's part of our school safety software. Again, we have been using this currently, and we've moved this to a multi-year contract.
And no dinosaurs are being brought back to life, correct?
Yeah, no velociraptors, correct.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Klingler,
Yes.
Ms. Lee,
Yes.
Mrs. McGinley,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Mrs. Larson,
Yes.
Mr. Devera,
Yes.
Motion carries.
I need a motion to approve the agreement with Archon Associates, Inc. and Bailey Edwards Design, Inc. for the purpose for providing additional architectural services to the district.
So moved.
Second. Motion by Mr. Devera, seconded by Mr. Francisco.
So again, the finance had brought, and it was the request with the administration to expand our architectural services or have additional architects of record for the district for the various needs that we have within being a unit district, elementary, middle school, bringing back our students from plebe-ac back into the community, athletics. There's a lot of projects going on in the districts and a lot of needs and things that we know that we are focusing on within our strategic plan and what needs to be happen for our students and families. Finance Committee, along with Mr. Francisco, Dr. Kibbens, and Dr. Lamping, interviewed 6 architects. Interviewed them. They presented their RFQ, documents regarding to the RFQ, and we spent 3 nights with these architects, asking lots of questions, listening to their qualifications, and looking at the work they have completing. The administration did a great job bringing in a good array of architects with those that focused with CPS, Chicago Public Schools, and all the way out who did work into Ohio. During that review, the committee came back with 3 architects. Right now, Dr. Kibbens has worked out contractual language with Archon and Bailey. So those are the 2 you see before you now. I think both of these architects, and I think the committee would agree, will be of great service to the district, knowing the needs we have at Murphy, again, bringing the kids back from Plebiac, and just looking at the laundry list of projects that has been brought forward by administration.
It also is going to give us a good ability to allow them to each give a little bit different of a vision so that we can really blend it together to provide the best for the district overall.
I don't know, Kevin, did you want to add anything?
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Klingler,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Mrs. Larson,
Yes.
Ms. Lee,
Yes.
Mr. De Vera,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Mrs. McGinley,
Yes.
And motion carries.
I need a motion to approve the bid for the award of $99,507 to Superior Paving and authorize the superintendent or his designee to execute all documents relating to this contract.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Klingler, seconded by Mr. Jewett.
And again, this went through finance, and again, this was, as I mentioned, we have the list of projects that we're doing. This is the blacktop pavement for Ellis Elementary and Beach. This will start fairly soon once we, the approval pending. But again, this was on that list of projects to do, and those parking lots are in dire need.
Yeah, Beach has been there for a while too. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Larson,
Yes.
Mrs. McGinley,
Yes.
Ms. Lee,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Mrs. Klingler,
Yes.
Mr. De Vera,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Motion's carried. Motion carries.
I need a motion to approve to authorize the superintendent to enter into the contract with Computer Nationwide contract, and to authorize the superintendent or his designee to execute any and all documents related to this contract in the amount of $182,493.66.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Ms. Lee, seconded by Mrs. Klingler.
So this contract is in regards to the reallocation or of the phones in all our classrooms and buildings. As you know, we received that ESSER funding, and this is funded also by ESSER. We got a new teacher desk, new student desk, so that made that more mobile, so no more stationary teacher desk. So the phones are not all in the same place in every building or even in every classroom. So this will help to put them near each doorway. Of course, this also went through Corey for, safety and security of that location. So this is to fund to make sure those phones are in the same location in every building, and this does include Plebiac.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. McGinley,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Mr. De Vera,
Yes, sir.
Ms. Lee,
Yes.
Mrs. Larson,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Mrs. Klingler,
Yes.
And motion carries.
Need a motion to approve a 1-year subscription with Loomly for $1,614.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Francisco, seconded by Mrs. Klingler. Reminders?
Yes, again, this went through finance, and we are doing, this came before, and we did just a short period. This is, Loomly is what we use even in athletics, so it goes across all our platforms when we make posts, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram.
All the social medias.
Yeah, it's social medias. So doing this 1-year contract, Mrs. Bennett was able to give us a savings of 25%. And again, I would hope, I think you would agree that it has definitely helped so that our posts and notifications are streamlined across those platforms.
Yep, absolutely. Roll call, please.
Mr. De Vera,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Mrs. Klingler,
Yes.
Mrs. McGinley,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Mrs. Larson,
Yes.
Miss Lee,
Yes.
Motion carries.
I need a motion to approve the one-year agreement with Remind for $5,600.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mrs. Klingler, seconded by, I'm giving it to Mr. DeVera.
On that side.
Okay, fine, do it. Saw both lights go on, I'm sorry.
It was mine and
Okay, then I'm completely blind, which is perfectly accurate.
All right. Anyway, so this this is to again those notifications that we were doing through Blackboard. We're moving them to Remind because it's a two-way communication. We don't have that with Blackboard, so we are using Remind.
And is athletics using that as well? Is that gonna?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's across
Clubs
the board, correct?
and yeah, all clubs.
Hold on.
Not athletics.
Sorry, just want to clarify, it's just for student athletes and those involved in clubs and activities.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Okay, yes, thank you.
That's what I said.
When I saw Ms. Bennett getting up, I was like, uh-oh, I said something wrong.
Did I forget?
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Klingler,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Mrs. Larson,
Yes.
Miss Lee,
Yes.
Mr. DeVera,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Mrs. McGinley,
Yes.
Motion carries.
I need a motion to approve the extension of the current health and safety protocols through July 30th, 2022.
July 31st.
July 31st.
So moved.
Second.
You're both killing me. Motion by Mr. Francisco, seconded by Mrs. Klingler. Luke? Any questions in regards to it, other than the extension of the current protocols that we've been working with?
That's it, just to extend it.
And hopefully this will be the last time we have to extend it. Exactly. Particle board. Roll call, please.
Mrs. McGinley,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Mr. DeVera,
Yes.
Miss Lee,
Yes.
Mrs. Larson,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Mrs. Klingler,
Yes.
Motion carries.
I need a motion to approve the HERO contracts for John T. McGee Middle School in the amount of $4,290, Round Lake Middle School in the amount of $5,445, and Round Lake High School in the amount of $11,668.86 for the 2022-2023 school year.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Jewett, seconded by Miss Lee. One question on that, each school with its different rating, is it based on the number of students?
Yes, yeah. So again, this did go through finance, and it is based on enrollment. Again, this is only at the two middle schools and the high school. They have been using this for some time, and of course, are electing to continue.
Thank you. Any additional questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Miss Lee,
Yes.
Mrs. McGinley,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Mrs. Klingler,
Yes.
Mrs. Larson,
Yes.
Mr. DeVera,
Yes.
Motion carries.
I need a motion to approve the contract with Welsh Video Services for the 2022 Round Lake High School graduation in the amount of $8,400.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Francisco, seconded by Miss Lee.
Yeah. So again, this went through finance. This was, of course, the taping of the high school graduation that we had.
Hearing no questions, roll call, please.
Mrs. Klingler,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Mrs. Larson,
Yes.
Miss Lee,
Yes.
Mr. De Vera,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Mrs. McGinley.
Yes.
Motion carries.
I need a motion to approve the Consolidated District Plan for submission to ISBE.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Francisco, seconded by Mrs. Klingler.
Oh, yeah, sorry. So again, just as it says, it's just the submission of the Consolidated District Plan for the Every Student Succeeds Act.
Hearing no questions, roll call, please.
Mrs. Larson,
Yes.
Mrs. Klingler,
Yes.
Mr. De Vera,
Yes.
Mrs. McGinley,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Miss Lee,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco.
Yes. Motion carries. And we are now done with the new business, thankfully, because we almost ran out of letters. All right, next up is positive occurrences. That's right, I'm looking at you.
Did you guys get to go to the parade? Because there was a parade. There was a few.
Just say
actually.
there's two. There were
Yeah, there
two
were a
of
few
them.
actually, and the kids played, and it was awesome. They did a really good job, and they looked adorable. Just so you guys know.
I was going to have a positive occurrence, but Dr. Mendoza stole it from me, saying how awesome it was that we brought all of the admin up through here and how awesome it is that we have so many admin that have worked for us and everything.
I just have one. I'm sorry about that. Just,
He's
I don't know
really
if it's
not.
positive. It is positive that the fact that Dr. Kiewitz or Beth Kiewitz would show up. It's her last month in the district, and the fact that she would show up to this meeting is really a reflection of everything, who she is, what she's about. We're really going to miss Beth. I remember when I first started, I went to you and just said, I need you in this job. Please stay. And she did. And we're just going to miss you. And we're very excited for what comes next for you. And she's a great mom and a great grandmother and a great friend. And I'm sure she's going to travel. Her kids live all over the country. So positive in that she came. I'm not sure I would have been at the board meeting in the last one in the year I retire. I probably will, but just grateful for you, Beth. Thank you for everything. I have to, right? So grateful.
And I'll throw out there, thank you to all the admin that was responsible for helping us host the IASB Lake Division meeting. It was a great meeting over at the ASC. They were absolutely floored by Organic Life and the spread that Organic Life brought out. We had a great meeting. We showed off for the district. We showed off for Organic Life, and a couple of the districts that were there that were part of the division meeting even had Organic Life, and they didn't realize how good Organic Life can be. So it's definitely a great testament to how well we work together. I know Dr. Kibbins does an amazing job working with Organic Life and holding them accountable and them holding us accountable as well. So again, I just can't thank everybody enough for that. I had a great meeting with that, and we've got a lot of plans going on when it comes to Lake Division.
Oh, one more. I'm gonna miss somebody, so I'm not calling names, but the graduation photo app.
Yeah, so it's.
I mean, I just no. Go ahead. You do it.
Well,
Pass it off to you.
I was just going to say, I know graduation itself, the weather did not go as we liked, but it's a congratulations to all those students who graduated on that day, and also to everyone in administration here who helped pull off the graduation, and as we tried to pivot during that situation that we were in. But out of that came that photo opportunity, and friends were sending pictures of their graduates, and even seeing on social media that how great that Make Lemons lemonade out of lemons type thing. So, I mean, families and community were really appreciative of that. And I think you guys did a great job.
Think we're going to continue with that as part of the regular ceremony. We got to think logistically how it's going to work, but you know, you could do it a week before the actual graduation and have time slots where people could come in. But I think there's elements that we learn from, and it's something I think we're going to continue.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up because I forgot and I wanted to point that out too. You know, I had a daughter that graduated and it was a huge deal to her. And getting the photos of it and she had her hair all done. It seems like a little thing, but after going through COVID and missing half of her high school career was a big deal. So the day that graduation happened, you know, she was sad. She cried a little bit about it. And then that just was a whole change to the situation. Everybody there was so friendly and sweet and kind, and they were like cheerleaders the whole day. It was just a really lovely experience. I wanted to thank you all for that. Thank you.
And I also throw out, and again, testament to all the staff, operations, administration, teachers across the board, just how seamlessly we transitioned right into summer honors, summer school, summer camps when it comes to athletics, the whole 9 yards. Didn't miss a beat. And on top of that, throwing on the photos and the graduations, and it just never stops. And this entire team just continues to make it happen and continues to raise the bar. So thank you.
And then just last one that I wanted to add is I really wanted to thank, Mr. Berry and Dr. Mendoza for giving me the opportunity to be speaker at the commencement. It really was appreciated being a graduate of this high school and a lifelong member of this community. It meant a lot, so thank you.
And while not a positive occurrence, I'll just throw it out there as a reminder to the board. III, we do need to make sure that you submit your Friday classes and all of that. We got to make sure we get that in because registration has already begun. Anything else? All right, then next up would be future agenda items.
I would like to see if we can put something together for logistics, if it was possible, just to see if we could buy at least one more driver's training car. On account of we just seem to have issues with them getting into crashes and then the classes are not able to happen. So I know I can see in that like, wait a minute, money. But I do want to see if it's possible.
What we'll do, if the board is okay with it, the full board, we'll do a comparison, like a per car comparison to student enrollment of the high school. So, you know, if you're a 3,000 student high school, how many cars do you have? If you're 2,000, how many cars do you have? So I think all 16-year-olds are bad drivers in every district, but it'd be good for us to see what the ratio looks like. Kurt, congratulations. That's something you're gonna have to do. So we'll bring that, but that's a really good point, and it's something we should do. So we'll look around and look at what the ratios are.
We just lost our fleet because Raymond Chevrolet took them back, and with COVID, the supply chain was dry.
Well, and with inflation, let's not kid ourselves. $5,000 used cars are not going for $20,000.
Sorry, I was trying to. When we're looking into it, can we also just see? I'm just wild curiosity now that my two are driving. How do we compare to other schools in terms of accidents with our? I mean, and it could just be. I'm just.
No, we'll get.
Just because my kids are in it, I'm just like.
Yeah, we'll.
I never knew that.
Kurt, you got that?
I'm just curious, you know.
So yes, we'll get that information.
Well, it's amazing. All the administration just peeling off to the side and leaving Kurtz standing all by himself in there.
Also, okay, I got one more question. And I don't know if I don't think we have it. Maybe we do. Could we potentially look at like I don't think we have the blue alert system, or I know some school districts have it, you know, instead of pulling the fire alarm, you pull the blue alarm in light of other district, other tragedies in the country. I'm just my friend Corey over there, as well as ALS training.
Welcome to the table, Corey.
So with Raptor Alert, it's like Crisis Go. So it's the mobile application for the notification. I mean, we could look at the blue alert and all that. I guess it still exists, but everyone's kind of going more towards the mobile application because it's something that's in your hand as you walk back and forth to the school, things like that, where the button is stationary.
And we didn't call it out, but the Raptor alert system that Corey approved tonight, we actually just got the mobile app. We didn't have that so this will be our first time with the mobile app, so we can see how it works.
So it's retroactive.
No, it's all good.
No, see.
I'm not familiar with
Future
that one.
agenda
I'm
item
familiar
and-
with a different one.
I had one. I had somebody had contact or I had a conversation with a teacher at McGee was asking if it's possible to have
Waffle blocks at the.
keys to multiple rooms. Like for instance, they sub frequently in the rooms, and if they don't have the keys, it was just a concern from a safety standpoint. So I don't know if that's. I just said I would ask. I would ask.
I'll
I'm
try
not
this
sure.
one.
What's that?
I'll try this one. We certainly can look at that. We hesitate to make a lot of masters in our buildings, so we are looking at our key situation. I can look to see if we even received a request from McGee, but what we have done is provided keys in the office that are turned in on a regular basis for traveling teachers. But I'll certainly look into that to see what the situation is. Yeah. We have, our key situation is not where we really want it to be. There's too many masters out there. And we need to get them back in and try to get a better situation with it. So I will investigate and come up with a response. I would have just said no.
Anything else? Anything else? All right, then I will need a motion to convene in closed session as permitted by statute 5 ILCS 120/2 for the purpose of discussing 1, employment matters, 5 ILCS 120/2 C1, and 2, closed meeting minutes, 5 ILCS 120/2 C21.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Klingler, seconded by Ms. Lee. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Klingler,
Yes.
Mrs. Larson,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Mrs. McGinley,
Yes.
Miss Lee,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Yeah.
Mr. De Vera.
Yes.
Motion carries. We will now convene in closed session. So thank you everyone for this evening. Thank you everyone online. We will see you again next month. Since we are into our July and summer mode. Thank you again for watching and being here. Have a great evening.